Hello and welcome to the Talk Football podcast. My name's Tommy Hay and I'm joined by Kieran Quayle, the editor of Get Spanish Football News Online. Thanks for joining us as always, Kieran. How are things where you are?
All good here, Tommy. Yeah, it's a bit of a cloudy morning, but can't complain sitting here in the house. Have the house to myself, so it's nice and quiet. I've been able to look through Marca and the RUAS this morning and haven't read much of the Catalan news, but yeah, getting there. How are you keeping?
Not bad, yeah. It's Spain, so weather's good and we're able to get out for a run once a day, every day. So it's good. You get a bit more freedom now than before, and it's a bit less extreme. So yeah, all good. Get back to normality just a little bit. You've been looking at the newspapers, and you were complaining earlier that they're a little bit bare these days because we still don't have football. Although it looks like we're going to be returning to La Liga sometime soon. What was your reaction when you heard Javier Aguirre on the radio talking about a possible return?
Oh, I got so excited. So excited. I was just about to switch off Twitter and then the news came in, and because Aguirre is such a character, like he just says it as it is. Like he's not your modern media trained type of guy. He'll just say it. Loves cursing, loves giving out, and the fact that he came out with it, and it's just like you have to believe him because he just always says it as it is. So I really took his word for it and wrote to you straight out screaming, "Come on, the league is returning, it's back, can't wait." And he said the 20th of June to the 26th of July, so it was just like fantastic news, even though it was maybe over 5 weeks away. But the next day then La Liga came out and we're like, no, it's not happening, we still have to wait and see, maybe there's going to be a second wave of cases and we're waiting on the Ministry of Health to actually confirm it. So it was kind of bit of a roller coaster 24 hours with Aguirre, but I love that man and hopefully he's right in the end and it is the 20th of June.
Yeah, I don't think the league or the federation will be particularly happy with the fact that he came out and said on the radio that we have a provisional date, because it got everybody excited, and also nothing is set in stone, and it obviously largely depends on what the government say rather than what the league or the federation decide.
Yeah. On Sunday night on Movistar, the president of La Liga, Javier Tebas, said that he wanted to return on the 12th of June. It just gives them like the right amount of time over the summer to get both Primera and Segunda, the top two divisions in Spain, completed. And then that would free them up for August to do the Champions League. I think that's the current plan with UEFA, that they're going to try and get La Liga out of the way between June and July and then leave August free for European competition. So if they stretch it to the 19th, Tebas said it could go to the 19th, but if we do it from the 12th, it'll be better. Players will get more of a break between games. But he said there's going to be football every day for 35 days. So it's going to be like a Spanish World Cup. It's just going to be all the football from, they're saying 7:30 and 9:30 are the slots. I'm not surprised the late kick off, because imagine you're Espanyol and you're traveling to Real Betis, you're going to Sevilla, it's the middle of July, it's going to be 40 degrees, and even at 10 o'clock it doesn't dip that much. You could be playing at 10 o'clock and it's still 32 degrees. So it's not surprising that they've got the two time slots of half set. Even the half set one's going to be really, really hot, but the 9:30 one will be nicer for some teams.
It's going to be difficult, but there'll need to be they'll have to orchestrate it in that way if it's going to work in any way. Midday kickoffs are completely out of the question, so you've got to do it at night. It's a very good way to describe it. It's like a World Cup format almost. It's just going to be constant and to see the league out. Last week we were talking about the reluctance that some of the players had to return to training. Eibar in particular weren't happy with the idea of returning to training and returning to playing from a safety point of view. And what's been happening in the past week is that they've started testing players, and there have been several positive cases. Five positive cases, no?
Yeah, there's 5 cases in Primera and Segunda, And then there's also like players with the antibodies. So, for example, at Atletico Madrid, you had Renan Lodi, the Brazilian left back. He tested positive for it, and he was asymptomatic. So he had reported it to the club in March, said that he wasn't feeling well, and then he got tested 2 months later, and that result came out. But he's fine. It's just he needs to stay in quarantine for the next 10 days, and then he needs to get like a double negative in order to be freed, basically. So he's then 9 members of the Atletico squad had tested for antibodies. So basically, they were actually going through it. They had like eliminated the virus, and they were just like the remaining antibodies in the system. So they were actually not going to be heavily affected, and were able to train. So, it's the other cases came from Betis. On Saturday night, the news broke of 3 positive cases at Betis. And then their keeper, Joel Robles, came out and made a video on Sunday basically saying, I'm fine, I have no symptoms, I'm here with my family, and all's good. And I'm looking forward to getting back to training with the rest of the squad. So, and then, I didn't hear who the other cases was, but probably better kept private.
Well, I thought this was the plan. I thought the plan was to not reveal the names of people. When La Liga announced that they were going to start testing the players as a means of guaranteeing their safety, I thought the idea was that we weren't going to reveal the names, and it seemed like straight away the complete opposite happened, and we did reveal the names. And obviously we're part of this because we're talking about it just now as well. You know, we're mentioning the fact that Lodi and we're naming names, but it's already out there in the public sphere. But I think it's a little bit unfair.
Yeah, I think it was nice to see Robles come out as well, because he said he was fine. Like he was his normal self, and the fact that his body had dealt with it, he was positive, but he had no symptoms. So he was looking at it from a positive point of view, saying that my body's fine, and I'm excited to test negative, basically. So he's not seeing it as this big deal, and the fact that he's coming out to a huge audience of Betis fans and La Liga fans and people around the world, he was happy to admit it. But yeah, in some media circles, they were reporting the news, but within the actual news, they were saying the club doesn't want this out, but it got out. Pedraza and Juanmi were the other players who tested positive at Betis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my favourite headline of last week, or definitely the most crass one, is El Mundo. The title of the article was "The immune team beat the infected team 160-5," which is it's one way of putting it. 160 players with antibodies versus 5 players that have the disease. So yeah, good football reference.
But out of 2,500 people tested at La Liga, only 8 tested positive. So it's a much lower number than they were expecting. And Tebas obviously said last week it's safer to play football than it is to go to the supermarket. So these quotes have been passed around like a virus. And then he also said over the weekend that there was research done in Germany, and it basically looked at players performing over 90 minutes, and it said that only for 76 seconds are you 1 meter or less away from an opponent or another person. So during those 90 minutes, and it probably especially would be the case in Spain, it's more of a tiki-taka, relaxed style. Maybe in the Premier League in England, you'd have more contact, and maybe it's a higher average than 76 seconds, but it's not a lot of time spent within 1 meter of other people. So this research is basically being good news, and it's been leveraged for Tebas because he's mad to get this going again.
Yeah. Yep. The thing is, if you're an A-bar player, imagine you've had these doubts, you've spoken about it with your teammates, you take in all this information about the likelihood of getting infected or whatever. How do you think this last week will have helped you in any way? Do you think you'd feel less nervous about it, or do you think the concerns are still going to be there despite all of this information and attempts by the governing bodies to calm people down?
I suppose, like when you go back to training, it probably would remove a bit of fear. Like, there's no hugging or high fives, but you're back, you're working hard, and it's some kind of new normal. But in a way, you're seeing people again, and you're out of the house. So I suppose a bit of fear has been removed, and there's been plenty of images of players posing with their masks, and like the Griezmann laughing, and a conversation between Eden Hazard and Zinedine Zidane keeping their distance, both wearing masks. That's going to be a nightmare for Spanish reporters trying to figure out what they're actually saying. They're not going to have to cover their mouths anymore. Normally you have them on the sideline covering their mouths with their hands.
Yeah.
So we've no idea what they're talking about, but probably along the lines of how are you feeling, are you fit? And Hazard actually trained yesterday. He's back training with Madrid, so he's going to be like a new signing. So yeah, I think it will remove a bit of fear when they are back, and when they're seeing statistics like Tebas is thrown around. It probably will help, but it's not going to be until they're actually back playing matches and they're looking at the results coming back. And if you're able to keep players in quarantine, well, then you're kind of removing that other aspect as well of players getting infected, because the likes of Lodi has to stay at home. He's not allowed near the Atletico camp, and eight positives in 2,500 I think will be good news for players.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Lodi, because Lodi's one of these 5 players in the Liga that's tested positive for COVID. That's a big loss for Atlético, but he's been one of the more consistent performers this season for them. And it also brings up a problem that they perhaps lack a little bit of strength and depth, in the sense that they don't really have an out-and-out left-back to replace him. You mentioned when we were talking earlier that Saul will probably be the most likely to drop in at left-back. It's not an ideal situation, is it?
No, it's not. And you need Saul in the middle. Like he controls games. He's become a leader in the last couple of years. He's one of their big game players. Scored that goal against Liverpool in the Champions League as well. And he kind of runs the midfield with Thomas Partey and Koke as well. They do have a very good young left back called Sergio Camello. He's only 19 though, and I saw him play against Levante earlier on in the season. He came in for his debut and he played really, really well. Gets up and down, kind of similar to Lodi, like gets up and down, and is very attack-minded but also strong, good in the tackle. And they'll have him coming through. He's been at the club for years, playing in the youth team as well. But Lodi is a very good player. Like, he's been outstanding this season. It's his first season and he's been quality for Atletico. Him playing left back, taking over from Felipe Luis, is no mean feat. So the fact that he's really hit the ground running, that'll be interesting to see what they do there. And we don't know how long he's going to be out for, so time will tell. But he's a very good player, and yeah, you're right. They're kind of lacking for options there, and I don't like when Sal goes back into left back, because it takes away kind of his creativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really need him going forward, don't you? You need him going forward and attacking, and he's slightly wasted there at left back. But I think this is the feeling among a lot of the Atletico fans, is that the left hand side of the park in general is an area that needs to be strengthened in order to free up other positions. Not just because of Saul, but Koke can't play to his full capacity if he's having to think about, dropping back or pushing up and overcompensating. So if you had a good left-hand sided midfielder there as well, who was consistently there, it would be good. Somebody with a lot of energy. A name that's been spoken about is Marc Cucurella. Again, possibly being brought in from Getafe. He would be good because he could play left-hand side of midfield, up and down midfielder, allow Koke to play his game, and also if there is an injury to Lodi, he can easily fill in at left back, no problem. So he's a signing that's been spoken about quite a lot. But he's been linked with quite a lot of clubs in Europe this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been linked to Arsenal with the Arteta links there, and Arteta's generally looking at the Spanish market. He trusts Spanish players, and he's also been linked with a couple of other clubs in Italy as well. The Getafe president, Angel Torres, has been in the news for the right reasons recently. He said that Getafe fans would get a free season ticket next year. The current Getafe fans, there's 13,500 fans with season tickets, and they'll basically, from whenever football resumes and people can start going back to stadiums, maybe January, February next year at the earliest, they'll have their free season ticket for that. But he said that the Napoli president has been on the phone to me every night. Now, he didn't refer to what players, but I'm sure Cucurella is one of them because most clubs are looking at him. He's been really, really good. Started off as a left back with Barcelona underage, and then since getting loan moves to Eibar and now Getafe, he's become more of a left wing back, left winger. Very fast, and he's a good left foot. Works quite hard down the left side. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Atletico were interested, but I think that their future is with Lodi. He's still only 22, and it's his first season. He's been brilliant there. I think Simeone's going to be happy with his progress so far. So yeah, I'm not surprised to see Cucurella once one team kind of looks bare in any given place. There's going to be names mentioned, and Cucurella is one of them.
Yeah, and but that's the thing. He's just been linked with so many clubs. Atletico actually made apparently an informal inquiry for him back in February, but it never came to anything. And the recent history of the player's really been with Barcelona. He's obviously from there. He actually started his career at Espanyol. He was there from 2006 to 2012 as a youth player. Then Barca snapped him up. He played a lot of games. He played 48 games for Barcelona B. Never made it. He was in the first team squad, but never actually played for them. And then, as you say, passed over to Eibar, had a good season there, and he's really made it since being loaned out to the Getafe. He's really impressed this season, and there's been we seem to spend a lot of time on this show talking about mismanagement by Barcelona, but I think if you look at the press this morning, you'll see that this could be another issue for them as well with Cucurella, because it looks like they maybe want to buy him back. It was reported on Catalan radio on the 10th of May that they're looking to buy him back. But could you explain a little bit about this recent saga involving him? Because Getafe have just paid Barcelona money to get Cucurella. 6 million they've just paid him.
Yeah, there was the pre-agreement made between the clubs to take him and make the deal permanent, which was a bit bizarre because he's only a young player and he's impressing at La Liga. Like, he's shown that he's able to play at that level. So for Barcelona to do that and to sell him was a bit of a surprise. The fact that he's quite versatile as well. They have Junior Firpo currently covering Jordi Alba. He's the second choice left back there, and he's also been linked with moves abroad to Serie A, to Roma in particular. The two clubs have worked together. For example, Carlos Perez left Barca to go to Roma in January, and they're happy to do business. But yeah, the Cucurella one surprised me. And if there's a deal there with Getafe already, and for him to stay on, I think staying at Getafe would be better for his development. Why would you go back to Camp Nou and just sit on the bench to watch Jordi Alba play in your position?
Yeah.
Plus, yeah. Barca play like kind of like a 4-3-3, 4-5-1. I don't think he'd suit their system in that left wing role because they play with like three attackers in front of three midfielders. So I think he's too wide for their system, and he suits Getafe's 4-4-2. So I think he'll make the right decision and stay at Getafe despite all this speculation, because he's still very young and it's a very good team and they're playing really well. They're in Europe. They're after knocking out Ajax. Like, you're a regular. Why would you go to Barcelona? It's too soon. I think you look at their system as well and say, no, this isn't for me.
Yeah, especially the age of 21. You're going to want to get hours playing, and you're not going to want to go back to Barcelona. Especially the way he's been treated, in the past by them. I think Atlético would call the attention a little bit more because of the way they play. It's not too dissimilar to Getafe, and I think he would fit in better in that system, just by the kind of player he is. But yeah,
I think he would. Yeah,
it's a difficult one. Junior Firpo, obviously, he had to fill in for Alba earlier on the season when Alba wasn't fit. I didn't think he'd done a terrible job, but it seems to be the attitude from at least the Barca support is that he's not the most favoured player there.
Yeah, he hasn't got too much time. I think they brought him in and as cover, like Alba's not getting any younger. He's 31 now, heading for 32, and he's like still a very, very good player. So Firpo knew where he was going. He knew he was going as backup and played a couple of games, but you're going to get slated. Like if you drop your performance or you're not at it at Barcelona, you're going to get slated. They've got huge demands there because they've had brilliant fullbacks for years. The likes of Dani Alves, they're only expecting the best. So he's still a young player, Firpo, and probably has a big future ahead. But he might be a similar case to Cucurella. He might need to go and get away and develop himself and actually get better by playing week in, week out. I think it's difficult at those big clubs. If you're just a squad member and you're young, I think you need to develop and go out and try and get a loan move if you can, or a permanent deal.
Okay, well, we're going to have a quick look at something that's happening off the field at Barcelona again. This isn't too controversial, but it seems to be that Joan Laporta has thrown himself back into the race after a bit of time out. It's just another indication that quite a lot of people that have been involved in the club at the highest level throughout the years are feeling that the club's going in the wrong direction. And Laporta's thrown himself into the race, and his main statement so far is that he would like to see Guardiola back at the Camp Nou. What's your initial reaction to this, Laporta running again and wanting Guardiola back as the manager?
It just shows a lack of respect to Quique Setien. It's not ideal. He's only in the door 5 minutes, and then you've got all of this, and you've got several people trying to run for presidency there because Josep Maria Bartomeo's term is coming to an end, his second term there, and he's going to be replaced in 2021, and they're all trying to get that position and try to transform the club. So it's quite a difficult one. You've got Font as well. He's looking to bring Xavi, and Xavi's out with Al Sadd in Qatar, and he's trying to kind of learn about management and his own style out there, and obviously keeps referring to managing Barcelona one day. He's done several interviews with the likes of La Vanguardia, the Spanish newspaper, saying that, it's obviously my dream, but I'd need a fresh start, I'd need a clean slate, and I'd need to do my own thing. I don't want any others around making bad decisions. And I think he's referring to the current Barca board because there's been so many bad decisions taken there recently, and it's a bit of a shambles. Like in February, you had Bartomeu say that we're making more revenue than ever. We've crossed the 1 billion mark in revenue. They became the first sports club to do it a couple of years ago in the world, and revenue looked good, financial stability looked good, but then coronavirus hit and everything really became apparent, not just with the virus, but like the mismanagement across the place. And not just on the books, but also dealing with people, the likes of sacking Valverde and going behind his back and interviewing different people while he was still in charge and making all of that public. So it's just been a mess. He comes out quite regularly and shows his lack of respect for the current board. So it's going to be a fresh start for whoever gets it, and they're going to have a lot of pressure to turn the club around. Laporta's done it before. Obviously, he's been there, and he'll feel confident of doing it again. But we don't really know who's actually going to get there to take charge of the club.
It's interesting, a situation where Laporta and Font both seem to be running based on the manager that they would like to bring in. It seems to be the biggest selling point of both campaigns. They're not really running on their own merits. They're running on who they would like to bring in. And you mentioned Quique Setien earlier. How must he be feeling just now? This is terrible from his point of view.
Yeah, it's just been a rollercoaster ride since he came in the door. It's not been too much fun for him. He hasn't been really able to get to grips with the club, and obviously hasn't had much time because of the virus and the pandemic. And he'll be happy to be back in training and just doing what he does. But he's a really humble guy and doesn't talk too much about it, or doesn't complain too much. He's quite respectable, and hopefully gets a couple of years at the club as well. He has good ideas. He has the Johan Cruyff philosophy behind him, and that's why the club likes him. So hopefully he gets the time he deserves. But Pep, he's expected to leave Man City, and was rumoured before to be interested in Juventus. He's had his project in England now. He's not going to win the Champions League with Man City, and it's just looking like they're going to be out of the Champions League with the ban. So Pep wants to be there in the European competition. He doesn't want to be competing just at domestic level. So who knows? Like, he might go back. He's done Bayern Munich. He's done Man City. He's already been at Barcelona and been really, really successful there. So maybe it's too early for him to go back to Barca. And maybe they'll give Xavi a go with new ideas. Fresh face, very young manager, younger than Pep as well. And he's close to the likes of Messi. So it's actually interesting, but we don't know.
Yeah. We don't know at this stage, but yeah, interesting stuff, and it's definitely one to keep your eye on. Okay, transfer news. I'll just wind you up and let you go here because there's a few ones here. Pjanić to Barca. What do we know about this one?
Yeah, so Barca's main target this summer is Lautaro Martinez from Inter, and they're keeping their cash for him. As I just said, they're basically in trouble at the moment financially. So with the Pjanić deal, they'd be looking to do a player exchange deal. Initially, it was Arthur Melo, who's only 23. Pjanić is 30. So for me, that would be a good deal for both clubs because Pjanić is a very good player and would suit Barca's style. He's been at Juventus for years and probably is looking for a move, and ESPN say that he's actually open to a move to the Camp Nou, and it's up to Juventus now just to accept the deal in exchange for Pjanić. So I think Melo would be good, but he said no, he wants to stay at Camp Nou. So now they're looking at other possible players to be involved in the deal, and it's a tough one for Barca because they're also trying to use players in the exchange for Lautaro Martinez because Martinez is valued at 111 million euro. That's his release clause. He's the Argentinian striker who's been brilliant this season in Serie A. Huge release clause, and Barca just can't afford it, and they're trying to offer 60 plus 2 players. So they're keeping any cash they've left for Lautaro because he's their number one, and then they're trying to just make the Pjanić deal a player swap with no money involved. So it's going to be up to Inter and Juventus to play ball and get the best deal on their side as well. But yeah, it looks like Pjanić is starting to enter the race now.
Do you understand do you understand the confusion about Pjanić? There's that was a reaction I seem to be noticing in the press and on social media as well. People seem to be confused about why they're going for him. I don't really get it myself. I think he's an incredibly consistent player. If you look at stats,
brilliant player.
Yeah, he's provided 66 assists since he joined Juventus, more than any other player in the competition. He's just really consistent at setting up goals. So
he's class.
I don't really get the confusion there.
Yeah, and Rakitic is on his way out, it seems. Like, he hasn't been playing at all. He's only made 10 appearances or 10 starts this season for Barca, and he's linked to a return to Sevilla. So Pjanić is 30, Rakitic is that bit older, and I could see him coming in there and fitting in at the club. He's more creative than Artur. He's more creative than Busquets. He would probably just play in front of them, but he is quite deep lying as well. I actually went to Lyon to study a few years ago and got him on the back of my Lyon jersey because I really enjoyed watching them. I went to a few Ligue 1 games, and Lyon were just after coming through their really successful spell in France where they were dominating, and Pjanić was a young player. He was number 8, and I bought this away jersey and just said, I'll get him in the back. I like the look of him, but I never expected him to have the career he had. So I think to get a move to Barcelona would really just top off a cracking career.
Yeah. No, again, it's one to keep your eyes on, and it's one that's definitely starting to take shape. So yeah, very interesting. James Rodríguez also, why has he been in the news?
Yeah, the news broke in Colombia. The Colombia boys are all over this, and they were saying on Blue Radio, a Colombia radio station, they were saying that the deal was 80% done. Javier Hernandez, a local journalist out there, said that the clubs were agreeing on the deal and it was basically crossing the line. However, Deportes Cuatro in Madrid were saying yesterday that the clubs haven't held talks at all, and Zidane doesn't fancy him anymore. Like, supposedly they've fallen out, and he's fallen out of favour with Zidane, and that they're trying to find a suitor for him. But it's not going to be Atlético Madrid. Atlético have denied the interest there, and I'm not surprised. I don't see him going to Atlético, not because they're cross-city rivals, and I just don't see him fitting in there. I think Cholo doesn't want that profile, and yeah, I think that'll die. But yeah, he's been linked with loads of clubs. He's still got a lot to offer. Like, he's 28.
Mm-hmm.
He's not old, and he's still got that left foot. Like, he can come up with a bit of magic and plays in that role. That's kind of dying, that number 10 role, where it used to be the number 10 was everything. He was the playmaker, but now football's changing again, and the number 10 role isn't as important. So maybe he'll find it difficult to fit into systems of modern day football where you have like your three midfielders and your three attackers, because he kind of plays in between the lines, and it's quite a difficult one now for players. They're going to have to adapt. So I think he'll find a club, but maybe his future isn't at Real Madrid. Yeah,
it's like in that Colombia team of 2014, he was very much the focal point and a sort of classic number 10. And you expect him to come and fill that role in whatever club he went to afterwards. And it just didn't really work out at Madrid. But it's strange, because it did look like he was coming back into the fold at the beginning of this season, but it just hasn't really worked out. My next question was going to be, do you think he would fit in well to Atletico? And yeah, I think I would agree with you. They've already got enough flair going forward with Felix. They're trying to work out a position for him. And sort of other areas of the park, and I don't think James really fits into it. But yeah, Luis Suarez, but maybe not the one that we're thinking of.
Yeah, not the Luis Suarez. It's actually another Colombian player, Luis Suarez. He's been tearing it up in Segunda for Real Sociedad. He scored 17 goals this season, and is a Watford player, but has been linked to different clubs. Valencia have shown an interest in him, purely for his goal scoring exploits this season. He's been really, really good. The player himself has said that he wants to stay on at Zaragoza and finish the season and try to get them promoted, because they're within touching distance. They've had a really, really good season there, and huge club Zaragoza. So who knows, if they got up, maybe he'd stay there and help them in La Liga. But yeah, Valencia are keeping an eye on him. Luis Suarez, he looks like the next Luis Suarez, because the other Luis Suarez, he's back in training, he's fit again, but he's coming towards the end of his career, whereas this Luis Suarez is young and up and coming. So he's definitely one to watch.
Mm-hmm. Did you see the photo of the Uruguayan Luis Suarez that was doing the rounds the other week? He didn't look like he was in the best shape.
He's just back from injury. Yeah, he always looks heavy though, even when he is at it and he's playing week in, week out and scoring goals. He has that big arse that he uses so well. Defenders just bounce off him, and he really uses that to his advantage. He's got the low centre of gravity, and yeah, I think regardless of the fitness level, I think he'll always look a little bit heavy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's always got that about him, and yeah, he's got that kind of big sort of Kenny Dalglish arse that he sticks players to great effect, and it does work. But yeah, well, I'm sure he'll be back to full fitness soon enough. Zaragoza, obviously talking about them, they are a big club. Did you know the other day was it Monday, was 25 years since or was it Sunday? Can't remember. Sunday or Monday was 25 years since they won that Winners' Cup against Arsenal, and Naeem scored the famous long distance goal. You should check out if you don't remember that final. The often forgotten about thing is the first goal was also an absolute screamer by Sneijder, absolute screamer. But everybody forgets about it because of the nature of the second one going over poor David Seaman's head. But yeah, classic moment that. Bit of football trivia. Do you know who scored the equalising goal for Arsenal that night, Kieran?
25 years ago, I have no idea.
It was the main man, and another fantastic arse in the history of football, John Hartson.
Oh yes, what a player!
John Hartson equalised not too far from the end. I think it was the 77th minute or so, to take it the extra time. Looked like it was going to penalties, and then ex-Spurs player Naeem steps up, and the rest is history. But yeah, 25 years, absolutely mad.
Hartson doesn't get the credit he deserves, does he?
He does where I'm from. He does in Glasgow. I mean, he's an absolute legend at Celtic, and I think he played his best football at Celtic, from what I saw and from what I know.
He was brilliant in his day.
Just that UEFA
big hold up man. Yeah.
The UEFA Cup run, the match he played against Liverpool at Anfield, just watch him there. Just the goal he scores an absolute screamer, and he's just a nightmare to play against because he was so physical.
I find it hard to see Hartson playing in the modern era. He was just that kind of old-fashioned centre forward, perfect for a 4-4-2 with balls coming in from both wings, and I think he was such a good player, but very, very good feet as well. Yeah, and he was a class player.
More than what he gets credit for, and obviously his style was different. But as we just said with James Rodríguez, football changes constantly.
Yeah,
you could say Rodríguez's peak was maybe when he was on top of the world was in that World Cup, but that was maybe the end of an era for that kind of number 10 player, and it certainly changed. So yeah, I mean, Hartson was of his time, and it wasn't a constant stage of development. Last thing, Bundesliga's back this week.
Yeah, have you selected a team yet that you're going to follow?
I don't know. I'm a big fan of Union Berlin. I think it's a great story what they're doing, and I can't say I'm an actual genuine fan. I don't follow them week to week, but I'm happy to see them doing well. I was looking down the fixture list the other day, and there are a few good ones. They don't have a Friday night fixture this week, as far as I know. I don't think they have a Friday night fixture. That's usually a big part of their league, and in the Bundesliga as well, the Friday night fixture is often an actually good fixture. You know how in Spain the Friday night fixture is usually
the dull one.
Yeah, it's no disrespect to Leganés, but sometimes it's like Leganés versus Eibar, or Espanyol versus Alaves or something like that. The German league, they tend to actually put on decent games. I wouldn't say I have an actual team. I'd love to see somebody that wasn't Bayern win the league, but
it is quite predictable out there. But BT are showing all the games live this weekend. So if somebody out there has BT, they're showing every Bundesliga game, which is brilliant. And I suppose it's their time to say, listen, we've got the fan culture. We've actually got decent football here. Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund might be competing most years at the top, but there's plenty on display. And I'm actually looking forward to watching a couple of games. I've never really given Bundesliga the credit it deserves. I just watched too much Liga and then Premier League as well. So Bundesliga, I used to watch Sky back in the day when Sky showed it years back. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching a game or two this weekend. It's going to be nice to have football back, isn't it?
Yeah, something that isn't the Belarusian league or the K-League.
Yeah, something that you can actually you can sit down and watch and enjoy even without fans.
Yeah, and actually recognise the players. Well, we've got, for anybody listening that doesn't know the fixture list, we've got Saturday 16th of May, Borussia Dortmund at home to Schalke. I think that's the standout fixture already. That's got to be the standout one. Dortmund v Schalke, 2:30. Augsburg, Wolfsburg, Düsseldorf versus Paderborn, Hoffenheim versus Hertha, Leipzig versus Freiburg. I'm interested in Leipzig because of Nagelsmann. I think
quality young coach.
Yeah, I mean that guy's incredibly young. I think he's just about to turn 33, but he might still be 32. But I mean, he's got all the makings of like it's like a Brian Clough type manager. This guy, and he really seems to be, I think he's got it. He seems to be revolutionizing the game there.
They knocked Spurs out of the Champions League 4-0 over 2 legs.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been some feeling for him as a 32-year-old coach to knock Mourinho out, score 4 goals, not concede. And I'd say his glass of wine that night tasted superb.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, and that was the thing. They didn't just beat them; they didn't fluke it. They were by far and away the deserved winners of that one. So
there's plenty in that league to watch out for. Definitely, I love watching Dortmund. I mean, I've watched their Amazon Prime documentary. I haven't watched them too much in the Bundesliga, but when you've got Sancho, like he's just such an exciting young player, and they're definitely they're kind of like everybody's team, aren't they? Dortmund. It's a little bit like Atlético in Spain. Atletico seem to be. You've lived in Madrid for a couple of years, and so have I. And you meet a lot of expats there, and people over there teaching English, and they tend to go for Atletico Madrid because it's the underdog. Even though you've got Rayo, Leganés, Getafe, smaller teams in Madrid, Atletico tends to be everybody's team. I think Dortmund's probably that equivalent in the Bundesliga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of Spanish people are surprised when we don't support Real Madrid, because often what happens is with immigrant groups from Latin America, they tend to go for the big two. They'll go for Barcelona or Real Madrid, depending on where they live. But I don't know why the Gearys, people from the north of Europe, Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales, wherever, they tend to go for the for Atlético or Rayo.
I think
as
it's
well. Rayo's a big
yeah.
one to go for.
I think it's because we already have our big club in England, like we're Liverpool, United, Arsenal fans, and to go and then kind of claim Real Madrid as well is a bit greedy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That could be a factor. But yeah, Rayo's actually a good one as well.
Yeah. No,
Oshin Tormey loves Rayo.
Our friend Ocean's a big Rayo fan. Yeah, he gave me He gave me Robbie Dunn's book on what was it? Working Class Heroes on Rayo.
Yeah, fantastic book. Yeah, if anybody's looking for lower league, not even lower league, but a smaller club in Madrid who are currently playing Segunda in Spain's second division, Robbie Dunn has written a very good book about a year following them around Spain. Yeah, you can find that on Amazon. It's called Working Class Heroes.
Yeah, and when you get back to Spain, if you ever come to Spain and football's eventually on, you can get in and see Rayo for about €15. I paid the last time I went to see them. It's a really good day out. €15, go see some good football, good ground, good fans. And Vallecas is a great area to go and visit, and there's fantastic fan culture there. So yeah, 100%.
It's a big club in a neighborhood.
Yeah,
it's one of the few teams left in big European leagues that's actually just connected to a neighborhood, and it's quite working class and hippie, and yeah, it's a good area.
Well, this is the thing that I think they're a good example for what a lot of teams should be. If you read Frank Skinner's Frank Skinner, the comedian, he's a football fan, and he says that you should choose your football team by getting a map of where you live, take out a ruler, and see what the closest football stadium is to your house, and that should be your team. And I think that's generally speaking what happens in Vallecas, is that everybody more or less is a Vallecano fan. They base it on the area, and they're proud of the area, and a lot of it goes into that. And I think if more teams did that, if more areas did that, football would have a different complexion, rather than going for the team that wins, or for example.
So does that mean you should follow Real Madrid?
Yeah, you've got me there.
Oh no, Tommy.
Well,
Stick to the Hibs.
Well, it should be Partick Thistle should be my team, and Partick Thistle were the first team that I went to watch when I was 5 when I went to see them. I went to see Partick Thistle versus Forfar Athletic. That was the first game of football I went to see, and it was Thistle 4, Forfar 0, which is a pretty common, quite a common scoreline there. And
you still managed to dodge supporting Thistle, even though they won 4-0.
I think I've seen Thistle more than I've seen any other team because it is my local team. But I would never, they're a team I've definitely got a soft spot for. My friend Grant is a massive Jags fan, and he and his dad, I have a lot of good conversations with them about Thistle. But that's another team that's got a great fan culture, and it's Maryhill. I would love if Maryhill, the area where Thistle are from, was like Vallecas. I think that would be it would be great for the club, and Glasgow would definitely have a different complexion, if people did that and supported their local team. But there you go. We'll finish this with a little bit of football trivia. You mentioned Jadon Sancho there. Jadon Sancho is one of 3 players who have played for England who have made their professional debuts with non-English clubs. So I'm not talking about the youth team, professional debuts. So, for example, Sancho came through the Man City youth setup, but he made his debut with Dortmund as a professional in the first team, and then he got his first England cap. There are 3 players in history who fit that description. Can you think of one of the other ones?
Recent history?
Uh-huh.
And they're all English?
They're all English.
Wow.
Give you a clue. One of them played in Germany as well, and he has a very strange accent. I'll tell you. Do you want me to tell you?
Go for it.
Owen Hargreaves is.
Oh yes.
So Hargreaves was born
Canadian.
in Canada. Yes, he's weird. He was born in Canada, but he made his debut in Germany with Bayern, and then he got his England debut. And the other one, I don't think anybody would ever get. Played for Hibs, oddly enough. A guy called Joe Baker, was born.
No,
born
we would have had we would have had a 4-hour podcast.
It's funny.
I'm glad you gave me those answers.
Yeah, well, I sent that question to my dad the other day. I said, "Who are these three players?" And everybody gets Sancho and Hargreaves after a while of thinking. My dad didn't get either of those ones, but he got Joe Baker because he's a Hibs fan.
That's good. That's good.
So nice
bit of trivia there.
Oh, you kind of beat a bit of trivia. Okay, well, that takes us to the end of our podcast. Thank you very much for listening. We hope to bring you more news on when La Liga will officially be back. We've got our provisional dates, and we can be happy with that. If you had to bet, Kieran, last question, you have to bet, when do you think it will be back? You've got to give me a date.
June 19th.
June 19th. June 19th, okay. I'll go for
keep it in your diary, and if it doesn't work, you can always watch the Bundesliga.
I'm writing it down. We'll need to bet something on this. You said June 19th. I'll go for June 20th just to make it a direct challenge.
Okay. I think the 19th is Saturday, so if they start football on the Sunday, you're going to be right, yeah.
Oh, fuck. Good point. Let's make it June the 18th.
Friday night kickoff.
Yeah, I thought June 19th would be the Friday night kickoff. Right, okay. I'll go for June 18th, and we'll have the Clásico of Eibar and Espanyol or something like that. Okay,
good
right.
stuff.
Well, thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Kieran, for being here, and we will see you again next week. Hasta luego.
Adios.